Hello everyone. In this video, we will be doing some exercises based on what we learned in the previous video. At the beginning of each exercise, I want you to pause and try and solve it on your own. Well, this first one that needs a protractor is kind of difficult for you to do. If you could use a protractor on your screen, I mean, you'd get the same result as me. Uh, but if that's too difficult because of the protractor problem, I can understand. For the others, however, where we don't have to use protractor necessarily, I would like for you to pause the video and try and solve them on your own. Okay, so let's start with this one. The first one says, measure the following angles and categorize them as either acute, obtuse, or right. Okay, so let's take our protractor. And what did we say we were going to do with that protractor? We need to put it at exactly the point of intersection of the two lines, and then rotate it so that one of its sides touches one of the lines. So like this. And then I need to see how far around do I need to go from here all the way to the other line. So I'd start start by using this set of numbers. Since I'm touching this line, I'd start from here and go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So basically, oh, look at that. I fell exactly on 160. So uh, this green angle is 160 degrees. Perfect. Let's take our protractor. Now this angle, the red, you might already be able to tell that it's a right angle, but we'll just, to be sure, let's measure it again, because this is not perfect. We might, instead of 90, we might get something like 91 or maybe 89. See? Right, like that. But then if I move it a little bit to the left, see, it's 90 now. So yeah, it's 90 degrees. It's a right angle. It's supposed to be a right angle, but because of my method of measurement, I might not be 100% exact all of the time. There might be a small uh, miscalculation in the measurement. Let's go for the blue angle. I rotate my protractor so it touches one of the sides. Okay, there we go. And then we say from 0, I'm going to use the inside, the set of numbers on the inside. So 0, 10, 20, 30, up, and it falls exactly on 40. Great. So the blue angle here is 40. And let's get the right color as well. Now, I'm going to erase the, no, not erase the protractor. I'm just going to hide it a little bit. And I want to ask you a question, basically. If I were to take the outsides of these angles, so let's see what that means. If I were to take this angle, for example, the outside of the green, how much would it be? Now, to think about this, what you need to consider is that this is basically the entire way around. This is a complete circle. So altogether, this needs to be 360 degrees because it's a complete circle. If I start from here, go all the way around, I'm back where I started. That's 360 degrees, we said, a complete circle. So basically what that means is that these two angles together, the green and the red, need to make 360. So that means that the green angle, 160, let's just use black now. So 160, and then the red angle, whatever that is, need to make 360. So what's here? here is the difference between these two numbers, between 360 and 160. So to find this, because it's the difference, I would do 360 take away 160. And what I would get if I did that subtraction is 200. So this red angle would be 200 degrees. What about this blue angle here? What if I took its outside? What would that be? Well, it would have to be something so that if I add it to 40, then I would get 360. So to find it, I need to find the difference between 40 and 360. So 360 take away 40 would give me my answer. So if I did this subtraction, what I would get is 320. So the outside of this blue angle would be 320. What about this? What about the outside of this angle, the right angle? Well, again, same thing. We need to have something that if we add 90 to it, we would get 360. So I need to find the difference between 360 and the 90. The difference between these two numbers is 270. So the outside of this circle is 270. Let's erase all of that. Actually, let's just hide it. Where's the rest? Okay, there we go. So that's exercise 1. Let's go to exercise 2. Exercise 2 says, create a line segment for each of the following to make it so that they have the desired angle. Create your line beginning from the blue dot. So for example, here, I have to make a line that starts from the blue dot, and I have to make it at the correct angle so that it makes 145 degrees. So I'm going to need my protractor for this. I'm going to take my protractor, so put it right here, and turn it so that it touches this side. Now, I want this to be at 145 degrees. So what I need to do is I need to start from here, from the 0, find 140. 140 is here, 145 thus is here. There we go. I'm going to remove the protractor. Sorry, guys. I'm going to remove the protractor. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to make a line from the blue dot up until the green dot, and then there we go. If I take a look at my protractor now, there's a 145 degree angle. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We forgot in the previous exercise, actually. We forgot to categorize all these. So we need to categorize these as either acute, obtuse, or right. So the first one, since it's 160, since it's more than 90, we said that more than 90 is obtuse. Exactly 90 is right. And then 40, since it's less than 90, that's acute. Okay, so now we can hide that again and return to our previous exercise. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so we made that 145 degree angle. Let's move on. We want to come here. We want to take our protractor here, and make a 60-degree angle. Okay. We're going to start from here because this is the side that's touching, and go 0, 10. We're going to go 60. 60 is exactly here on this line. So I'm going to put a dot here. I'm going to remove the protractor and draw a line from the starting point to my green dot. And there we go. We have a 60-degree angle. Next up, if we go here, it says 180. If you remember from yesterday, 180 means a straight line. So if I wanted to, I could just take a ruler and just extend this. And there you go. But if I want to be more precise, I should take my protractor, place it here. Well, I mean, if you use the ruler, that's also fine. And go like this. And there we go. That's a 180 degree. Next up, we're going here. We need to make a right angle here, so that means 180 degree, 90 degrees, sorry, again. So I'm going to put a dot here at the 90 degrees, take away the protractor, and make a line from the blue dot to the green dot. And there we have it, our 90-degree angle. Perfect. So let's put all of this together and hide it away. There it goes. And move on to the next exercise. This exercise says, categorize the following triangles as either right, obtuse, or acute based on their angles. So just to remind you, a right triangle has exactly one right angle. An acute triangle has all of its angles being acute, and an obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle and the other two being acute. So let's start from here. What can we see? We can see, well, this is obviously less than 90. This is a very small angle, so it's going to be acute. And this also looks kind of small, so it's going to be acute. I'm not going to use a protractor here, so that's the first exercise that you can pause and do on your own. So we have two acute angles, but this is a very open angle. If I wanted to make it a right angle, it should be something like this, but it's actually much more open. So this is an obtuse angle. So here, the red is an obtuse triangle. Remember what we said yesterday. A triangle can't have all of its angles. It can't even have two, let alone all three being obtuse. That's impossible. It's only going to have one, maybe, if it's an obtuse triangle. Next up, we have these here that are all quite small. They all seem less than 90 degrees. Here, for example, which this seems to be the biggest one. Even if I wanted to have a right angle here, it should have been something like this. So this one looks smaller than that. And these two look even smaller than that. So here I have a triangle that has three acute angles. So I have an acute triangle. I'm going to make this blue. Now for the green. Ah, sorry. Here, what's going on here? We have two angles, 1, 2, that are acute. They are less than 90 degrees. They are smaller than a right angle, but I have one right angle. And remember, we said yesterday that right angles are symbolized with this little square here. If you see this little square, that means that this is a right angle. We don't have to measure it. We know if we wanted to be sure, we would measure it. But this symbol shows us that we don't have to. It's a right angle. So I'm going to write here right triangle, meaning that it has exactly one right angle. For the next exercise, let's see what it says. It says, find the missing angles for each triangle. How would we do that? Well, we would remember what we said yesterday, that the sum of all the angles of a triangle need to be 180 degrees, meaning if I add all of its angles together, they should be 180 degrees. Let's start with the obtuse one. This has an angle of 10, 160, and then the third one is missing. So what do I know? I know that 160, I'm going to use black for this. I know that 160 and 10 and whatever this third angle is, together they need to make 180 degrees. Okay, well, 160 and 10 make 170. And this other part, together they need to make 180. So 170 plus what makes 180? To find that, I need to find the difference between these two numbers, between 170 and 180. So I need to do 180 minus 170 to find what should go here, what the value of this angle is. So, for example, here, if I do this subtraction, what I get is 10 degrees. Now, as you can see here, if this was 10 degrees, these two would have to be the same, and they're not. That's because I did not measure these angles. I just gave them a value to show how we would solve a problem like this. They're not actually 10 and 10. This, if we had to say, this would be more like a 5, and this should be more like a 15. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is the way that we solve problems like this. Next up, we're going to do the acute one. The acute one is missing this top angle. We know that this one is 60 and this one is 80. We're missing the last one. So what we need here is to find 80 plus 60 plus what makes 180. Well, 80 and 60 make 140, plus what makes 180? To find that, I need to find the difference between 180 and 140, and that is 40. I do the subtraction. Last one. Now here, you might get a little confused because, hey, it's only giving me one angle, and it's looking for this one. What about this one? Well, we already know the value of this one because of this little box. Remember, this box means a right angle. And what does a right angle mean? 90 degrees. So 25 and 90. And what give me 180? Well, 25 and 90 make 115, plus what makes 180? So to find this, I would need to find the difference between these two numbers, 180 and 115. And if I do this subtraction, I'm going to find 65. So this angle should be 65 degrees. This one we found to be 40. That's how I solve problems like these. I need to keep in mind that altogether they need to make 180, and I find the difference between 180 and the rest of the angles. That's it. So that's exercise 3. Oh no. It's hide all this. Okay, exercise 4. Exercise 4 says, given that the two red angles are equal and knowing the green angle is 40 degrees, can you find how many degrees one red angle is? So what I know is that this green angle is 40 degrees and the two red angles are equal. Okay, well, how does that help me? Well, because again, like before, I know that altogether they have to make 180. But since they're equal, what that means is that whatever I need to fill up to 180 from 40, each one should be half. So how much would I need? Just knowing this, together, how much should these be to make, with this one, to make 180? Well, that means I got to find the difference between 180 and 40, which is 140. So these two red angles together need to be 140. Now, knowing that they are equal means that each of these is the half of 140. So I could find the half of 140 by either doing 140 divided by 2 or just by saying half of 14 is 7, so um, half of 140 is 70. And indeed, here, if you do 70 and 70, that makes 140, plus 40 makes 180. That'll be all for today. If you have any questions, because I know this can be a little confusing when we start, leave them in the comments. I will respond. Okay? I'll see you guys again uh, on the video of Friday, where we'll be solving your exercises together.